So, a big welcome to the International Somatic Coaching Network. This is September 2025, and I'm Caroline Quaife, the host, and also today I am the guest speaker as well. So I'm like, I've got different hats on, which is quite exciting. And also I'm doing tech, so I'll probably get totally confused, but not to worry about that. So it is recorded. The video recording is only accessed by people that belong to the group. But I've started making the audio accessible to other people because I've had requests around that. So if you're feeling like, oh, I'm not sure about I wanting to speak, then please just put something in the chat. We'll work it out. So I usually start by saying something about our network and the purpose. So the purpose is threefold, really. There's integration and bringing the body in to enable integration. There's transformation, which to me means kind of growth. So it's not like we're transformed into, I don't know, vehicles or something like that, or monsters, or I'm going mad. But so it's transformation in the sense of you're able to make different moves even when you're under pressure. So to me, that's what growth is really. And it's that sense, I don't know if any of you have experience with Strozy, but they have the concept of shape. So it's about being able to have that shape which is kind of centered and neutral, and then able to respond to the pressures of life. And then the other one is ease. So hoping to bring in a spirit of ease and playfulness for people. So just to say that you can register on my site, and then that gives you more access to the videos, etc. If you've if you've registered through LinkedIn, please connect with me because I can't send you a direct message if you don't connect with me personally. So, right, that's all the gubbins, I think. Um, so how we are is we come together as coaches mainly, although there are other people that are, other kinds of professions, etc. But we're not coaching each other. So we're coming from that perspective of witnessing. So we're all called here. We have a responsibility to our wisdom, and we have a kind of sense of connection. So, welcome to those of you that have just joined. Um, I'm going to just do a little bit about the dates that are coming up, and I have to open the slides here, I'm afraid, because I can't remember that bit. So I've just done these slides. So we've got Amanda Comstock on the 7th of October. So she's got an introduction to body-mind centering for somatic coaches. Then we've got Nadine Musa, who's a member of our group also. She's doing a call on getting unstuck and returning to our humanity. Love it. And then I had a bit of a brainwave after the last month's ISCN, which was people got really interested in books. And I thought, well, let's have a somatic book club because I don't know of one. And I love Amanda Blake. She was probably one of the first people that when I discovered somatic coaching, her book just came out. And so I really like it. It's accessible. So that's going to be our first book. And then we've got another one, which is for a bit of light reading while we're away at Christmas. I thought, let's have the trauma-informed coach. So imagine you on Boxing Day and you're like, everybody else is, I don't know, playing games, and you're getting out the trauma-informed coach and having a bit of a play with that. Then we've got Robin Athey, who was one of our guests in the early days of this group. So she's doing something on slow leadership, and I love the sound of that. And then we've got Kate, who also is a member of this group, who hasn't got a name for it, but I know it'll be really fun because it's Kate, basically. So I'm just going to stop sharing my slides because otherwise it gets a bit tedious looking at slides. So just wanted to say a little bit about myself. So I do have values around kind of trying to work with the biggest impact, and that's either I like that, Richard. This is what your Christmas is usually like. Yeah, so trying to have the biggest impact on a global and a local level. So it's about those kind of polarities that we're in. And also around it's not all up to me. So my default has been it's all up to me. I have to sort it all out, and so I'm unlearning that particular one. And the other thing is around those Strozzi dimensions of being human, and we're going to have a little centering practice in a bit around those, around safety, connection, dignity, and purpose. So trying to bring those aspects into the work that I do. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to be talking about tuning into the body's intelligences. And that word is at the end is really important. So, it's that sense of the physical, the emotional, cognitive, our beautiful brains, spiritual, all of those other intelligences that we have access to through the body. And it seems to be that when we go through the body, we're then able to have access to those and then integrate those into new ways of doing things, which for me, the new way of doing things is very much around unlearning, I think, at the moment. I don't know if that's the case for you as well. So this is about connecting to what you care about. It's going to be experiential. Do have a few slides here and there. And I am going to try and put things in the chat as I go along. You can see me faffing around because I've got this thing which is my chat guide here, so that I can put the right text in at the right time. So it's a quote that is usually attributed to Einstein, although apparently it's not Einstein. It's a chap called Bob Samples, who wrote a book around the holistic brain. And the quote is, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift. The rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." So that's very much what this is about. This is really around our brains are beautiful and wonderful, but we have privileged them so that we feel that everything has to be solved through our brains. And actually, what we're trying to do is to come back through that intuitive mind, through our body, and then that will align with our brains. And so there always is, for me, in my work as a coach, it's about bringing in the body first, and then it is okay that the thinking about and the talking about and the kind of being able to make sense of comes afterwards. And certainly for some of my clients, the body is so fundamental in the shift that sometimes their brain is like, what happened? What's going on? Hey, hey, hey. And it's like almost like the brain's kind of running along trying to keep up. And so a big part of my work, I think, in the last few years has been making sure that the brain feels reassured that actually it's okay to allow the body to be able to have that sacred gift role, and the brain to be its faithful servant. So the next sort of thing I wanted to do in terms of this idea of connecting to what you care about is to pause. And I need to pause because I am not a talker. And so I've kind of run out of my talking energy at the moment. And so I wanted to just reference a sort of pause practice. So it's Pema Chodron, I think. So I'm a bit dyslexic, so sometimes I say words wrong and get numbers all in the wrong order and everything. You don't want to give your security code to me because I'll remember all of the numbers, but just in the wrong order. So pause. So she talks about having a practice of a pause to be able to create a gap. And I have done it. I have kind of attached it to, anchored it is the NLP word, isn't it? To opening a door and shutting a door, because it kind of gives me a little bit of a visual and physical cue. And that pause is around 3 breaths. Now, as coaches, we kind of need to be aware of trauma. And so what I always do when I'm working with clients is I just say, if you're very hypervigilant, or if you're feeling like you're kind of in that grip of trauma, or if it just does not feel right, then don't do breath exercises because it can connect you quite quickly to that. But if it feels okay, then we'll do a breath exercise. And an alternative, if somebody feels like, actually, Caroline, that's a bit too much, is to notice your feet on the floor. or to put your hands on your stomach. So there are ways, or even just putting a hand on a table or some wood or something natural. So it's a sense of being able to have a pause in the way that feels right. So what we're going to ask you to do now, and you can do it sitting down or standing up, but I want you to just take 3 conscious breaths. And the breaths really is about letting the breath flow, particularly the out breath, enjoying the aspect of it. And so I think everybody is on mute, but if you want to make a kind of sound, then really kind of go for it. So what I'm going to invite you to do is those 3 breaths in your own time, and I can feel myself pausing already. So I'm going to do that now as well. So that's us all pausing, which for me is quite delightful, apart from the fact that my phone rang just as soon as we started it, which is a bit ironic. So, what I'd like to do is I'm going to just do a little centering practice, and then we'll have a kind of conversation about that. Um, is that okay? Sort of thumbs up if it's okay. Okay, perfect. Right. So we're going to do. I love this Rosie centering practice. So it is that centering in the 4 dimensions, and the reason why I'm suggesting we do it is because it's a really good way of connecting to what you care about. Um, and connecting to what we care about is something that we need to do at various times in our life because things change as we get older and circumstances around us change, we change, etc. So it's something about that intentional looking and checking in around what you care about. And the other aspect that seems really relevant at the moment for me and in many people that I kind of work with is that we connect to what we care about, but there's still a sense of reticence and a sense of staying smaller, perhaps, than is it's about trying to, it's about staying smaller to keep safe, which absolutely, that's what we do. That's our primary thing is for our bodies to keep safe. But something about being the right size, so not too grandiose and not too small, hiding under the cupboard, but a sense of what's the right size for when you connect to what you care about. So just kind of dropping that one in there. So you can do this standing or sitting. Sometimes standing is really kind of quite nice to do. Um, and what I'm going to do is it'll be about 5 minutes, and I will take you through turning your attention to different parts of your body. So, and what I'd like you to do as you're doing it is we will end up with that sense of connecting to what you care about. So I just before you even enter into it, just kind of have a and to put yourself off screen if you want to, if that feels better. But just a sense of kind of connecting to what you care about now. So what we're going to do is we're going to notice feet on the floor, and then we're going to turn our attention working up our feet and our legs. So your feet, your soles on the ground, your toes, the pads of your feet, the heels, and that sense of the earth that's holding you. So the ground is holding you. And then turn your attention to your ankles, your calves, your knees, your thighs, your bottom. So this is the sort of bottom part of your body. And this is the length of the bottom part of your body. And having a sense of sort of settling there, with the feet, with your feet and your legs being held by the earth. And turning your attention up your spine, so up your coccyx, and kind of imagining the curve of your spine as you kind of go up your spine, and the space in between the vertebrae up to the back of your neck that holds your skull. And this is, so you've got your settling in one part, but this is a sense of a kind of a flow upwards. So there's a connection between the sky and the earth. So this is the line of human dignity. So this is us as human beings taking up the right space for us now in this world, in this moment. And then we're going to turn our attention to the dimension of connection. So this is the width. So I want you to turn your attention to in between your legs, the outside of your legs, the side of your trunk, the space in between your trunk and your arms. And if you want to move at any point, please do have a little wriggle or have a little experiment with what it's like having, for example, more space in between your trunk and your arms, or less space, whatever you want to do. And then turning your attention to the space in between your fingers, and then the outsides of your arms, the outside of shoulders, the outside of your head. And then I want you to have that sense of where your body ends and the rest of the world begins. And then imagine that actually your you-ness, your sense of you, goes out beyond your body. So it kind of fills, it goes out into the room, beyond the room, out into the world, as far as you want it to be, really. And it's like a 360 sense of yourself connected with the world. So that's the dimension of connection. And then we're going to move to the dimension of safety. So this is depth, the back of you and the front of you. So turning your attention to the back, first of all. So the back of your ankle, the back of your calves, your knees, back of your thighs, your bottom, your lower back, your middle back, your upper back, the back of your head. And if you're standing, what you can do is imagine that you've got a tail, big kind of dinosaur tail, and you just let yourself sit into that tail and kind of imagine what that is like. So there's that phrase, who's got my back? And here what we're going to do is we're going to populate behind us all of the people, the ideas, nature, dogs, cats, whatever it is, but what can you have that has your back, that gives you resource? Because to do this work, and for our clients, we need to come in resourced. So just let yourself kind of bring in whoever, whatever. They can be alive, they can be dead, might be a future something or other. But bring it in and like populate, the sense of your posse, the people, the things that have got your back, and you can bring them in whenever you want to. Then we're going to turn to the front. So that's the dimension of safety related to being able to face into the future. So just turn your attention to your forehead, your eye sockets as well. Quite often we hold a lot of tension in our eye sockets. And that sends little messages to our brain, right, there's something to worry about here. Tiny, tiny little sort of signals that we don't even notice. So imagine almost that your eye sockets are relaxing. And then your nose, your cheeks, your mouth, your ears. So these are all the senses that we use for the external world, the outward facing world. And then your throat, your chest, your heart, all of the organs inside of you, the fronts of your legs. So this is being centered in the dimension of safety, what's got your back, and being able to feel safe enough to face into the future. And then the last dimension, which Strozzi calls the dimension of, he says the other three dimensions we've just used, so dignity, safety and connection, are kind of mammalian. This one, purpose, is about what makes us human, that we are able to have that sense of purpose. So it's not purpose with a capital P. I think people can get quite hung up on that, what that means. It's that sense of connecting to what you care about, what's important to you. And again, as I said, you need to. It's useful to check in every now and again with what you care about because it changes. But this is around perhaps what do you long for? What have you seen that you kind of want more of? What if you were really greedy? Would you really, really want for yourself? And there is a sense of you in this world as well. So a connection to what you care about. And it's so that you can actually be in the world in a way which feels congruent with your values, with what you care about, so that you can move forward. So when we connect to that last bit, the sense of purpose, you might want to put your thumbs on your belly button, then your hand on your tummy. So this place there are many cultures that put that sense of purpose in this part of your body. It's called Hara Tantian. So it comes in many kind of ancient cultures. This is the site of our energy to be able to face the future and to move forwards. So as you connect, it might be that you have some thoughts or an image or emotion or a longing. It might be that you don't have any of those things. It's the practice of connecting and intentionally allowing in that sense of, yes, actually, I will allow that into my life. So whatever it is, however the words it might be that the words just they haven't come into sentences yet. That's fine, wherever it is. It's absolutely fine. And I'm just going to let myself connect again to what I care about. So when you're ready, if you want to open your eyes, if your eyes are shut, come on screen if you've off screen. And we'll have a quick conversation about that and about where you're at in this moment. Does anybody want to kick us off? Yeah, Lucia.
So can you hear me okay?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure.
I was struck. I've had quite an emotionally turbulent morning, week. Well, when I start thinking, then it gets into years and decades. But anyway, uh, and I was really struck that the word that came up was softness,
Softness.
um, and how so much of what I'm doing at the moment is not that.
Mm,
So that's what I'm sort of
mm.
taking away from that exercise. It was felt very profound, actually.
Yeah, yeah. And that's lovely. And I would say go with whatever comes up because there is so much to softness. And when I hear the word, I soften. So, when I come on to these kind of things, I've kind of G'd myself up a bit and I'm in that kind of mode. And actually, as you say the word softness, I was like, oh yeah, that's lovely. Yeah, yeah. And there's so much involved in softness, isn't there? There is a kind of letting go, I think. And also there's an honoring the contraction that needed to happen to get you where you are now as well. So rather than kind of like, oh, I'm going to get rid of what it is, whatever the contraction might be the word for the moment, but actually no, let's bring some softness into that as well. Yeah, lovely. Thank you. Anybody else want to? Oh, Denise.
Yeah, no, I just really enjoyed after you kind of did the first bit with the body scan, when you then talked about that taking up the right amount of space.
Mm.
That just added an extra dimension, an extra something to that exercise, which was really, um, it felt like a release, like a permission, like to just the idea of being the right space. Like the women that I work with talk about shrinking themselves or feeling that they've shrunk themselves over, years and decades. And that idea of being able to just expand safely and take up the
Mm.
right amount of space just really touched me. I love that. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Oh, thank you, thank you. Yeah, and the right amount actually is kind of a deliberate use of words, because
Yeah,
that smallifying is something certainly that I've done in my life. And then the smallified version of me becomes the norm. And
yeah.
almost like stretching out and taking your right space feels like is that me anymore? And so there is really something about that, containing it and kind of giving it you said the word safety that it
Mm.
needs for it. Um,
Yeah, it's like giving the permission to take up that space. And then the next stage after that was to then imagine or visualize yourself expanding outward even further. And I like the fact that that's broken into two separate steps, if you like, in the exercise, because you're giving someone the permission to take up the right space, and then you're inviting them to grow beyond that, which is
yeah,
opening
yeah,
up even more doors. So that was
yes. And there are some lovely practices around actually expanding the kind of space that you take in. So one that I do quite often and really enjoy is, because we live our lives feeling like we are separate. We are separate from each other. We're separate from the world. This separateness is just, and actually, if you look at your physical body, yeah, I've got a body, and it is a different from your body kind of thing. So there's a sense to that. And also, if you have the practice of sending your you-ness, I can't think of a better word, you-ness always sounds a bit weird, but your sense of you, and then letting you even just fill the room and then move it about and kind of allow it to change and take up different amounts of space, then I think it helps with connection, because that sense of separateness suddenly becomes a bit like, well, why am I making that assumption?
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's also the bit where you said where your body ends and the rest of the world begins. And I like that, drawing that distinction. But when you try and take your attention to that, you find that you can't feel it.
Mm,
And that really helps that sense of connection, because
yeah,
actually, where do I end and where does the rest of the world begin?
absolutely, absolutely. That certainty around me is my body and that it is separate. That certainty is changed, isn't it?
Mm, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
Thank
great.
you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You got anybody else?
I'm just, I hope it's okay to chip in again, but
Yeah.
I suppose I'm struck by, the discussion that, Denise, you were sort of inviting in, and there's something about unfolding, emerging like a seedling or something in nature. And I've been thinking a lot recently about sort of how our world is so linear and goal orientated. And there's definitely a role for that in the way that we live. But sometimes having the clear goal in sight, it's that sort of head over, it's sort of proving I can't remember the way you put it a moment ago, the mind. So it's trying to come from a mind departure rather than a body departure,
Mm.
and they may look the same to someone else, but the experience is completely different. I suppose that's just what was coming up for me as I was hearing you discuss that.
Yeah, yeah, I love that. So I'm responding to it again from personal. So my way of doing things used to be to try and do things through willpower. And I achieve quite a lot through willpower because I can be a tenacious person. Um, And also, I think kind of when you were talking, I had a sense of a seed, you know, and especially as we're coming in, well, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're coming into winter. And it's that sense of, you know, a seed contains everything inside it. And if it's down in the soil, it's in the dark for quite a long time. And the amount of kind of energy that's needed for a little seedling to kind of come up through the soil and then keep coming up and then see the light and everything like that, it just astonishes me. I mean, I sprout seeds sometimes, and even just seeing them sort of like have this tiny little tendril, and it's just like, so we, again, we kind of that we privilege the what we can see, which is the formed seed or plant and everything, rather than actually the all of that, you know, what's happening in the dark that is unseen. And sometimes in this work, you know, you can feel like, oh, I don't know, I've just like been doing the same things over and over again. And when am I going to make progress? And when am I going to do that? And da 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 da. Well, anyway, I can. And it's something about actually that you probably have been being that seed and gathering in the darkness all of the energy and nutrient that you need. And we need nutrient, we need water, we need energy and everything, and we need that sort of support, which is why that, you know, why I love the Strosey, because we're bringing in that sense of the right resources to be able to move forward in our lives as well. So yeah, I do. I don't know if that's Lucia kind of that, but it struck me when you said that, that image of a seed really kind of struck me. So I'm gonna share a couple of slides. I wasn't sure whether I was going to share them or not, but I think I will. Because there's two sort of concepts here. Where is it? Here we are. Can you see this? Can I, sorry, I need to, this is me doing my faffing as I promised I would faff. There you are. You can all see this now, hopefully. So there are two things here that are really important. And so what we did in that little centering practice was we turned our intention to, you know, what is it that's actually important to us. And the thing here that I kind of want to just kind of frame is there is a paradox here around like accepting. I don't like that word accepting. Probably actually I need to change that slide because I think it's agreeing. So the world as it is, we spend a lot of our life fighting with how the world is, particularly at the moment, because the world feels like an increasingly scary and you know, hate-fueled and violent kind of place. So there's that sense of, oh no, that's too much. I want the world to be like how I think it should be. So there is that paradox around being able to see the world as it is. And also, we, I think, as humans, have this desire to be able to steer our future path, our life, towards something that is more of a life force. And I don't know, maybe there are better words than life force, but there's an energy and a sense of, when I use the word life force, it's about something that is beyond just being human as individuals again. There's something about the life force of the people that came before us, the people that are going to go up after, come after us when we die. There's the world, you know, the nature, everything else. There is that sense um, of those kind of things, that kind of that sense of wanting to be able to be inside and part of that life force rather than that pushing and that willpower that I talked about before. So that's the intention. And then it's about our attention. So what we're trying to do is to become clearer about our intention and also focus our attention on it. So it's consciously. So there's a bullet point there about making a conscious connection between your practice and what you care about. So it becomes kind of day to day. And so it is about, you know, in the attention, it's these day to day little practices that we use so that our brain is rewiring and we are connecting our body with our brain in service of what the intention is for us. So I'm just going to sort of stop there and sort of see if there's any conversation that people want to have around that. Maybe I've got a question which is around your intention. You know, it's like, does it feel kind of quite clear to you, or does it feel quite messy or half-formed, or, you know, what's that like, that sense of your intention? That's that change or direction that you want to move towards. And maybe you don't want to answer, maybe that's something that you just want to take away.
I've got thoughts, but I always have thoughts. I don't want to take up the airwaves.
Go for it, go for it.
I don't know. I hope this isn't oversharing, but when I was in my teens, I had an eating disorder, and I remember getting to the conclusion that the only way that I was going to get out of it was by not wanting to get out of it, if that makes sense.
Oh,
And so it was having the goal was not helpful because it was keeping me focused on the problem, if that makes sense. And I suppose I'm
yeah.
kind of relating through that lens. Or my dog is trying to join me in this conversation. Sorry.
Hello,
I'm
dog.
quite far up, so that was a bit of a leap. So I suppose I was just really struck by how difficult this is, because it's moving towards something which might be different. So there's going to be an inherent learning process, unlearning and learning process going on, but it's also doing it in a manner that we are not generally sort of, it's societal, you know. The
Yeah.
first thing you're asked in so many kind of business contexts is about your goal and your this and that, and so it's showing up in a way where the system is really trying to get you to do something very different. So I suppose I was just marveling at the challenge of that. A
Yeah,
worthwhile
yeah,
one.
yeah, and I love that. And it is kind of, it does feel overwhelming and really hard. And also there is a simplicity to it as well. So Strozzi talks about conditioned tendencies, and our conditioned tendencies are the things that we learnt when we were very young that kept us safe. So, you know, Denise talking about, you know, women kind of making themselves smaller absolutely makes sense. You know, if you you know, you think about a small young girl or even baby, you know, don't have any power. And so it's about, you know, the conditioned tendencies are the ways that we took on in order to keep ourselves safe in the situation that we found ourselves in. And we kind of we use those and we harness them to kind of be okay in the world. And then there comes a point when actually those conditioned tendencies which kept us safe in the world become the barriers to us moving on. And that's where actually those conditioned tendencies, it's that unlearning aspect. So, you know, for me, doing the practice of centering actually had physically changed my shape. You know, I walk differently, I stand differently because I do these daily centering practices. And it's been unlearning, and my body at first is a bit like, what on earth is going on? I'm not sure what, you know, what's that like? It's weird because we're comfortable. You know, we know it so well, those conditioned tendencies. They're almost like us. And then the thought that they're not us can make us feel like, oh my God, what am I then? So it can be quite existential. Um, so, and also there is a simplicity in the sense that the body knows. The body kind of, if you can actually tune into it and not have all of the expectation that it's your brain that's going to do the work, then actually your body will show you what it needs. But it's, you know, certainly with the clients I work with, learning to trust is, you know, it's huge. And as you said, particularly in a world where or a society where we're not taught to tune in to our bodies. Mm. Yeah, Christopher.
I've actually got a sheet of paper up here. You won't be able to see it. It actually says my intention is, and I've got sort of various post-it notes. There's quite a lot of words on there. I thought actually my intention presently is really in one word, which is to play. And I noticed that when I play, I'm a writer, so playing with words, playing with ideas is part of it too. But when I play, that is a very in the body experience. I'm sure we all got experiences to draw on when we've played. I notice my face changes, my body shape changes. Some of the ways that I play is, and I've recently been as a record collector. I got out all my records from the late 1980s, and I've just been playing all about Eve and Delamitri and Deacon Blue. And I just put it on, but it's because it connects me to when I was 15. That's why that particular era. But just that intention to play. If I try and play, I mean that's a killer. I try and have a great idea in my writing, and I think that's just kind of what I've been sitting with from just think about intention and that intention to play and where I feel that in my body, and I've got my hands on my stomach here. There's just a sense of permission and just shifting shape. Strozzi talks a lot about shape, doesn't he? And just play cannot but change the shape of your being, I think.
Yes, absolutely. So it is always that process of, we start, as somatic coaches or coaches who use somatic practices. We always try, and not always, but there's a sense of starting with the body, and then the word or the image. Bye, Lucia. The word or the image or the physicality of it or the metaphor or whatever, that's what kind of then comes. And we are human beings that use language, and we kind of really need language. It's part of what makes us human. And so, but it's something about, rather than trying to go through words to find the thing, it's actually a different way of going towards it.
I mean, I don't know if this is the right place for this, but it just reminded me, as Christopher was talking about permission, and Caroline, you talked about, the body knows. It just reminded me of this concept of the full body fuck yes, which I heard from, I can't remember who, so I think it was on the neuroscience podcast, but that sense of like, when you have an intention that is so fully aligned, that your body just screams yes at you. And I think that's a slightly different thing than we're talking about, but it just felt like, you're saying the body knows, and the mind gets in the way of the body, of course, and that's what we're doing here with the somatic work. But that concept of having an intention that is so right, and being so in tune with those signals from the body, that you get this full body fuck yes, it's just, I love that, and most of my clients love that concept as well. So I think that's something that I am looking for, not everywhere, because not everything you intend to do is going to give you that, but when it comes to like the big juicy things in life, being able to recognize that kind of signal and interpret it as a fuck yes rather than a fuck no kind of thing,
Yeah, absolutely. And I do work with some clients where we actually do some playing around with what is a full no. So an example of a full no might be going and swimming with sharks. So your body kind of thinks, ugh. So it's like, okay, and then exploring what is that like, and you can try some of the traditional poses, of putting your hand up by your sternum and your leg forward and things like that. And also you can try and think, what does a full body no mean? And then also a full yes, which for a client was something around being there for her children. And so, trying the different places around that so that we get a sense, because quite often, again, you know, if you have been smallifying or, you know, your conditioned tendency, you narrow the range of choices, and that is a
Yeah.
protection. But
Yeah.
actually, what you're doing is you're letting yourself kind of remember. You know, I think hopefully everybody in this world has at some point in their life, I really, really hope so, has experienced that fuck yes, hell
Yeah.
yes, you know,
Yeah.
absolutely joyous sense, you know, and Christopher and the playfulness, you know, like, you know, I can remember playfulness with a like a whoa, you know, kind of, you know, yes, yes, yes kind of sense, you know, and there is that pose around kind of like ecstatic where you put your arms up and your eyes are out to the heavens and everything. There's like a hell yeah kind of, so there are ways of kind of playing with it as well.
Yeah. Right.
Any other thoughts or whatever? Comments, David?
Yeah, thanks. I suppose I noticed something quite powerful, really, that we spoke earlier about the idea of the goal, and the goal sort of limits, and it can be very, very helpful. But actually, what I noticed with the intention is it opens up.
Yeah.
But also it opens is lighter. Like physically, I feel enlightened. I don't mean that in some sort of mysterious way, but just there's a sort of sense of lightness about it. There's also a sense of control.
Yeah.
You can't control a goal. You can have a goal and you can keep trying to fire at it, but
Mm.
actually life happens. But the
Yeah.
intention you can control.
Yeah.
And what came with that was, for me, a sort of a certain kind of fuzz. I'm very tired at the moment for a variety of different reasons, but the what came back as a sort of core thing was really caring for others.
Mm.
Oh, you've frozen. Is it? Am I
Yeah,
still there or not?
you're still there, we can still hear you, but your face is frozen.
Hello?
Yeah, we can still hear you, David.
Hi, can you still hear me or not?
We can still hear you. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's a bit strange on occasions, this Wi-Fi. No, there's a sort of deep sense of caring for others, which is expressing itself through what I currently do. Um, and there's a sense in which, if you stick with the intention,
Yeah.
it just sort of it happens. Whereas if you get to a goal, you can end up with a kind of sense of frustration and whether or not you've got to the goal and all that stuff. But the intention is a much lighter thing. And what I've found in the past sometimes is there's a sense of having a goal which is not fulfilled. But then when I reflect back, I go, well, actually, it's being fulfilled.
Yes, but you maybe haven't got what you expected. Is that the thing with it
Yeah,
that you
or
had?
it's not kind of,
It's a bit
you
different
know,
from how you imagined.
yeah, or it doesn't fulfill a set of criteria which are not necessarily verbalized, but they're kind of sitting there
Yes.
right in the back of the system. And
Yeah.
they're going, no, 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 actually, it's not quite, it could be a bit better if it was like this or whatever. But
Yeah.
when you come back to the intention, you lose a lot of that very
Yeah.
quickly. Um, and there comes with it just that sense of freedom and lightness, really, which is great.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. I was wondering about playing with, I don't know if anybody's ever done circling activities. And I'm kind of playing here a bit really, because this isn't necessarily what I would do in a different context, but I felt like I wanted, this is the space to play for me. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm kind of wondering about whether you would be wanting to do this. I need to explain what it is first, don't I? Rather before you say yes or no. So circling is, there is an activity where circling is two people or more people, and it has a sentence stem that you just stick to the sentence stem. And the rationale for that is what you're doing is you're paying attention to your body. And by having the same sentence stem, that it enables you to stay connected to what's happening there in terms of your sensations and what you're observing and noticing. So the sentence stem is when I hear that, and then there are three parts to it. I notice, I feel, I imagine. And what you do is for 5 minutes, two people just have a conversation where that is the sentence stem. And what I wondered about is me demonstrating it with somebody and then going into Zoom rooms and trying it out with each other. Does anybody want to volunteer just on the basis of what I've said? And
don't
if you do,
mind.
well, yeah,
I don't
brilliant.
know what I'm saying yes to, but I'll
You
say.
don't, do you? No, so it's very
Oh my
trusting
God.
of you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a bit of faffing because I'm going to put it into the chat so that you and we know what we're doing. So I'm just doing that now. So can you see that, Denise? So this is the sentence stem is what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you first of all, Denise, to just check in with what you care about, what's important to you. And I want you to start, and then I will respond by one of those three sentence stems. And the notice is kind of, noticing either from noticing the other person, noticing yourself, noticing something in the world. Feeling is I'm feel. The imagine bit is sometimes when your brain just goes off into some kind of crazy, like, I don't know, might be this or an image or something like that. That's an opportunity to kind of go into that dimension of it. And the thing about this is to stick with what comes. So if you get completely distracted by the fact that your dog is barking outside,
She's
then it
snoring.
might
She's snoring actually.
then you might say, when I hear that, I notice that I'm completely distracted because my dog's barking outside. And that's fine too. Is that
Gotcha.
all right in terms of
Yeah.
giving that a go?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, right. So what I'd like you to do is and we'll just do this for a few minutes if that's all right, long enough so that people get what the demonstration is about. So you're a bit of a guinea pig here. So if you want to kick us off, and then for as long as you want to, around that sense of connecting to what you care about, what's important to you right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's really easy for me because I moved my youngest son to university at the weekend. So I've still got one, my older son is still living at home with me, but I've lost, that's the word that came. I've lost my youngest son. I'm in Enfield, which is North London. He's moved to Greenwich, which is South London. So we're not that far apart, but I feel the idea of it, the build up to it, the moving, all the stuff that was involved in it, and the physical absence of him is something that I'm experiencing in these days at the moment. So that's kind of what's important to me right now.
Mm. So when I hear that, I notice that the two things that really seemed to have the most weight to me was that loss and the sense of physical absence.
Yeah. Oh, am I supposed to respond with one of these?
You can yeah, you can yeah, with the
Yeah.
sentence then.
Well, when I hear that, I feel a sense of being heard, of being understood. I feel a contraction, constriction in my throat, the emotions coming up, and I feel gripping in my belly as well. That's what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah. And when I hear that, I feel that tightness and that sense in the belly as well. And although the tightness felt like the biggest thing when I was hearing it, it's somehow the belly that feels really significant.
Yeah. And when I hear that, I'm imagining or I'm remembering actually when I was carrying him in my womb. And there's, I guess for me, that when you just said about the belly feels bigger or more important, that is what I'm imagining, remembering, imagining him in, before he was even born, but also then after he was born, carrying him around for months before he could walk.
Mm.
So I'm imagining that, yeah, there's a deep resurgence of all that stuff that happened years ago that's come back to the fore now.
Yeah. When I hear that, I imagine him, you know, when he was in the womb and then as a, toddler and everything. And I also imagine him as a man, older and growing older through his life. I kind of had a sense of the whole of his life there. It felt like we had the whole life force of him here. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I hear that, I notice a real expansion. Just that idea of his whole life kind of going backwards that way, but going forwards that way, that I noticed that it dissolved that tension, and it's been replaced with a sense of lightness and expansion.
When I hear that, I feel physically joyful. And also, is it all right if we end that?
Yeah, of course.
Little... Thank you. Thank you so much. So that's an example of circling. Are people up for it? In terms of, I'm just kind of wondering, because we've got some people who, Lauren, are you up for doing that as well? So I think what I'll do is, I'm just trying to work out the Zoom rooms. Richard, are you all right for that as well? Okay, so I'm gonna try and do Zoom rooms. So sorry, my maths, that's 3 rooms, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, so what I'm suggesting that we do is you have 5 minutes each and a couple of minutes faffing around time, which you can use to faff around or talk about it or whatever. Okay, so is that all right with everybody? Okay, right, I'm opening the rooms. Wonderful. So how was that?
Found it really interesting. Trying to make sure I didn't start trying to coach. You know, when someone starts talking about something and you're kind of like, all the questions you might normally ask if you were coaching them, and be like, no, just stick to the stem, notice what's going on for you. And I had to just acknowledge that at one point, that I was finding that really hard,
Yeah, oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well done, Lauren, because that is like, it is a very different thing. And it is, for me, it's kind of the difference between coaching and witnessing, So yeah, so thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
I think it feels, for me, it feels very much like the pause that you were talking about earlier. It's not coaching, it's just listening and feeling and noticing. So it felt like a sort of, no, well, I definitely felt a connection with David, but it felt like a sort of gentle, easeful pause to just feel.
Lovely. Yeah, and it is. It's something I personally, I feel like my busy brain gets quieted because my busy brain knows that it has to do something, so it has to come up with a sentence stem, but that's enough. So, and then it's like the rest of me is like, okay, yeah, like I can pause and I can have more attention. But you're right, and Lauren, you're right. It's like when we're not used to that, it's like a different mode for us, and kind of a switch. Yeah.
I feel like
go on. Just go for it.
It was a beautiful experience. I really loved it, and I noticed there was a lot of moments in both of our conversations. Yeah, and we did talk about the pause and just how nice that felt to be able to do that. And as always in any of these situations, I wanted longer to be able to carry on.
I know, rather than being pulled out,
yes,
scruff of your neck, whether you want to or not.
Aware of that ticking down time, but yeah, it was amazing what you could do in just 5 minutes each, actually.
Yeah, oh, lovely. I'm glad you enjoyed it, because I was a bit like, ooh, this is, this is a bit of an experiment for me. But then I was like, well, that's what you wanted, Caroline. Somewhere to play.
Yeah, there was a resonance, just very, very quickly, and in a sense, I would say, in my experience, it felt like it was coaching, but coaching from a place of being rather than doing and thinking. And there's a Gestaltian aspect to that, isn't there? And just the noticing, and Richard offered some noticing, was like, facial expressions or gestures, like, no, I did not know that. I did not know I'd done that at all. So just such value in that, the mirroring of that. So thank you. Yeah, really, really enjoyed it.
I love that phrase, coaching from being. Like, wow, that's kind of blown my socks off. I just love it. Yeah. Anybody else got anything to share at this point?
Well, I think I'd like to start by saying thank you to Denise for just very powerful listening, really. But what is striking is the affirming power of that experience, and also just having things reflected back in a very, very simple way, but just remarkable how affirming that is, and how clarifying it is as well.
It is. We're not used to, I think, being with each other in a very intentional way, and it's kind of delightful. And, as you say, even 5 minutes of that sense of being with that intentional way it's like nourishment, isn't it? Nourishment of that seed that we were talking about earlier. So I think, it's all right if I start to wind up the end of this? So what I do is, for any of the guest speakers, I offer them the opportunity to share their offers. So I thought, well, I'm going to do that because I'm being the speaker. So I'm going to do that. And also, before I do that, just a request, I do need some more speakers in 2026. And I have 2 books in this new book club. So the first is Amanda Blake, Your Body is Your Brain. So I'm just going to put that in. That's there. So if you want to come, then start reading that. So that's going to be on the 2nd of December. Then I've got, as I said, the Trauma Informed Coach in January. And then also I do have a program. So I'm just going to share that. I'm not sure whether you can get to see it when you're not in the room. So anyway, this is my introduction to somatic coaching. So I've got one that's starting in October, on October the 14th. It's every fortnight for 5 sessions. For people in the International Somatic Coaching Network, it's £100 off. So it's £260 if you use that code ISCN. And I've given you the link there. So it'd be lovely to have you. Obviously, there are people in this network who, have got lots of fantastic qualifications. The reason why I set this group up is because when I started it about 5 years ago, things were thousands and thousands of pounds. And I just thought I wanted something that was accessible for coaches who wanted to have a play with somatic approaches. And so it's very experiential in the way that this session today was. A bit of theory, and there's quite a lot on the website for you to look at, before sessions and things. So the kind of theory bit is, it's light in the sessions, but there is stuff there on the website. And you get an hour's coaching with me as well. And also, you get to be with some really cool coaches regularly as well. And the other thing is that question around connecting to what you care about is part of the program. So that's what we practice with, bringing in that question with intentionality. So that's that. And then also just wanted to, if anybody does want to chat, I'm going to put that link in. There's a half an hour on my Calendly thing. So I work as a somatic coach supervisor. So all that means really is what a coaching supervisor would do, plus more of a somatic and systemic lens as well. And you also you know, I work as a coach as well. So that's there if you fancy, and also if you just fancy a chat, really. No agenda, just, you know, want to have a chat. I love talking to other coaches. It's really cool. So on that basis, unless anybody's got any questions, thoughts, whatever, we will say au revoir and a big thank you. Okay, so it'd be lovely if you could come off mute and we could say goodbye.
Thank you so
And
much. It was
thank you so
great.
much, and look forward to seeing you again next
Thank you
month.
very much.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
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 Thank you, Caroline. That was great. Really helpful. Thank you.